Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is another bookshelf tour. In today's video I am going to take you into this shelf directly behind me, which is a monster of a shelf, but there was also a surprise and I will let you see if you can figure out what the surprise is. So join me for bookshelf tour number 3. Okay, so we have The Lion in the North by John Preble, 1000 Years of Scotland's History. The Perfect King by Ian Mortimer, The Life of Edward III, Father of the English Nation. Children of England, The Heirs of King Henry VIII by Alison Weir. The Story of Classic Crime in 100 Books by Martin Edwards. This one is really interesting. Churchill's Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, The Mavericks Who Plotted Hitler's Defeat by Giles Milton. The Dreadful Judgment, The True Story of the Great Fire of London by Neil Hansen. Voices from the Home Front, Personal Experiences of Wartime Britain 1939 to 45 by Felicity Goodall. A Spy Among Friends, Kim Philby and the Great Betrayal by Ben McIntyre. The Golden Age of Murder by Martin Edwards, The Mystery of the Writers Who Invented the Modern Detective Story. This one was also fascinating. This was mostly about the Detection Club, members of the Detection Club. Fascinating. The Man Who Broke Napoleon's Codes, The Story of George Scoville by Mark Urban. The Murder of King Tut by James Patterson. The Ultimate Cold Case Reopened. Oh, James Patterson and Martin Dugard. The Peculiar Case of the Electric Constable, A True Tale of Passion, Poison, and Pursuit by Carol Baxter. The Drood Case by Felix Aylmer. And A Sentimental Murder, Love and Mayhem in the 18th Century by John Brewer. Alright, next up is my Peter Ackroyd collection. So these are all by Peter Ackroyd, Dan Leno and the Limehouse Golem. The Clerkenwell Tales, Chatterton, London Under, London the Biography, and this is a monster of a book. Albion, The Origins of the English Imagination. Tudors, The History of England from Henry VIII to Elizabeth I. Revolution, The History of England from the Battle of the Boyne to the Battle of Waterloo. Venice, Pure City. Foundation, The History of England, Volume 1. And Rebellion, The History of England from James I to the Glorious Revolution. Okay, Hampshire Days by W.H. Hudson. Ernest Hemingway, A Life Story by Carlos Baker. The Secret Rooms, A True Gothic Mystery by Catherine Bailey. Farewell in Splendor, The Passing of Queen Victoria and Her Age by Gerald M. Packard. Rediscovering the Greatest Human Strength, Willpower by Roy F. Baumeister and John Tierney. The Mile End Murder by Sinclair McKay, the case Conan Doyle couldn't solve. Sinclair McKay investigates the archival evidence of the most intriguing case. The Morningside Papers by Peter Gzowski. 1001 Foods You Must Taste Before You Die. General Editor Francis Case. The Information by James Gleek. And Archaeology, Theories, Methods, and Practices, 3rd edition, Colin Renfrew and Paul Bond. Okay, so this one has a plain cover, so I'm opening it up so you can see. Shakespeare of London by Marchette Chute. This is from 1949. Paris in the Terror by Stanley Loomis, June 1793 to July 1794. The Terror, The Shadow of the Guillotine, France 1792 to 1794 by Graham Fife. Careless People, Murder, Mayhem, and the Invention of the Great Gatsby by Sarah Churchwell. Scrapbook, 1900 to 1914 by Leslie Bailey. The Longest Night, The Bombing of London on May the 10th, 1941 by Gavin Mortimer. Traditional Recipes of Laos by Phia Singh. Gunpowder, The Players Behind the Plot by James Travers. The Acquisitors, The Canadian Establishment, Volume 2 by Peter C. Newman. The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. The Edwardian Lady, The Story of Edith Holden, compiled by Ina Taylor. And The Nature Notes of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. The Militant Suffrage Movement, Citizenship and Resistance in Britain, 1860 to 1930 by Laura E. Nim Mahal. The National Dream, The Great Railway, 1871 to 1881 by Pierre Berton. The Dead Duke, His Secret Wife, and the Missing Corpse, An Extraordinary Edwardian Case of Deception and Intrigue by Pugh Marie Eatwell. "1700, Scenes from London Life by Maureen Waller. The Royal, The History of Glasgow Royal Infirmary, 1794 to 1994. Royal Panoply, I'm not entirely sure how to say that. Brief Lives of the English Monarchs by Carolee Erickson. Literary Landscapes of the British Isles, A Narrative Atlas by David Dashies and John Flower. The Lodger, Shakespeare, His Life on Silver Street by Charles Nicholl. William Shakespeare, A Biography by A.L. Rouse. We're getting into a little bit of a Shakespeare section here. Shakespeare's Words, A Glossary and Language Companion by David Crystal and Ben Crystal. And The Complete Idiot's Guide to Shakespeare by Laurie Rizakis, PhD. And now we're getting into the surprise that's at the back. I have books. We have books stacked here along the back. So I will show you these as well. This is A Prairie Alphabet by Yvette Moore and Joe Bannatyne Sugnet. I'm not entirely sure how to say that. A Great Big Ugly Man Came Up and Tied His Horse to Me, a book of nonsense verse illustrated by Wallace Tripp. A Visit to William Blake's Inn, Poems for Innocent and Experienced Travelers by Nancy Willard. The Hamper and Trivet Catalog, offering a complete line of unique, innovative, electronic, digital American products by Mark Drop and Steven Spiegel, with illustrations by Michael Labash. The Chronicles of Downton Abbey, A New Era, Jessica Fellows and Matthew Sturgis, forward by Julian Fellows. The SAS Survival Handbook by John Wiseman. Mystery, A Celebration, Stalking Public Television's Greatest Sleuths, John Miller. And this is what happens when you go to book sales where all the books are $1. Mouth Sounds, How to Whistle, Pop, Click, and Honk Your Way to Social Success. A Practitioner's Manual, More Than 70 Noises to Make with Your Mouth by Frederick R. Newman. Includes free record. However, we did not get the record with it, but still. And Canterbury Cathedral, official cathedral publication. Eleanor of Aquitaine and the Four Kings by Amy Kelly. Medicine, Madams, and Mounties, Stories of a Yukon Doctor, 1933 to 1947 by Alan Duncan. 1001 Ideas That Changed the Way We Think, preface by Arthur Kaplan, general editor Robert Arp. Shadow of the Core by James M. Dupont. Men for the Mountains by Sid Marty. Alone Against the North, An Expedition into the Unknown by Adam Schultz. White Horse by Alex Adams. Before, I took life for granted. After, I'll do anything it takes to survive. Caravan of Thieves by David Rich. Gridlock, a novel, Senator Byron L. Dorgan and David Hagberg. Clawback, Mike Cooper. James Wesley Rawls, Liberators, a novel of the coming global collapse. And Pharaoh by David Gibbons. What do you get if you cross Indiana Jones with Dan Brown's? Answer: David Gibbons. Treasury of Proverbs and Epigrams. Botanica's 100 Best Annuals for Your Garden. Decorating Hints and Tips, More Than 2,000 Practical Solutions to Help You Improve Your Home by Julian Castle and Peter Parham. A Brief History of Tea, The Extraordinary Story of the World's Favorite Drink by Roy Moxham. This one was really interesting. Deuteronomic History by Terence E. Fretheim, Interpreting Biblical Texts. A Dead Man in Deptford by Anthony Burgess. The Pioneer Years, 1895 to 1914, Memories of Settlers Who Opened the West. The Red River Settlement, Its Rise, Progress, and Present State, with some account of the native races and its general history to the present day by Alexander Ross. Moral Choices, 2nd edition, An Introduction to Ethics by Scott B. Ray. A Tangled Web by L. M. Montgomery. John Piper, Spectacular Sins and Their Global Purpose in the Glory of Christ. The Blithedale Romance by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is a Norton Critical edition, so it's an authoritative text, background, and sources criticism. Edited by Seymour Gross and Rosalie Murphy. And finally, The Homecoming, being the 6th volume of The Daughters of Mannering, a novel of Regency England by Marion Chesney. And for those who may not know, Marion Chesney is also MC Beaton. So there you have it. That's my monster shelf with the surprise in the background. So what do you think? Those were the books on my shelf. Have you read any of those books? Most of them were nonfiction. Do you enjoy nonfiction? Do you enjoy history? Let's chat about it in the comment section down below, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.